Welcome into this weekend's soccer show. After a busy week of Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League, we're back to the domestic leagues this weekend. In this weekend's soccer predictions and parlays, we're going to cover 9 different games across the EPL, Bundesliga, Serie A, and La Liga. It was a great weekend. Last week, going 3-0 in these video picks. The members-only section also went 2-0 in those parlays as well. And we covered even more La Liga, Serie A, and even the Austrian League over there. So I'll be sure to look for some more bonus content to include in the members-only section as well for this week. With more success in the midweek games, the parlays in the Champions League going 2-1, 2-0 in the Europa League, and 1-0 in the Conference League. Let's hope for some more winners this weekend as well. Stay tuned for more videos by liking this video and subscribing. I'll summarize these picks from this video in a graphic at the end as well. So let's get into it. On Saturday in the EPL, to start off this parlay number 1, Newcastle and Leicester. Leicester's games, they've been filled with goals all season long, averaging the 4th most, 3.4 goals per game. Newcastle's a little bit lower, 2.7, but their last 2 games, a 3-3 draw and a 4-2 loss, so tons of goals recently. Leicester have seen a 3-1 win and a 2-2 draw since Ruud van Nistelrooy took charge. And with 4-1 and 2-1 losses before that, the story for the Foxes is usually goals, goals, and more goals. The both teams to score in all competitions for them this season has gone 14-4. They've given up a goal in 15 of 18 games. They've also scored a goal in 16 of 18 games. Newcastle are now winless in 4 games, conceding in all 4, 2 or more goals in 3 of those 4. Playing at home, though, still generally a good place for Newcastle bets. They've not won any of their last 2, but in all competitions, they're 9-6-2 going back into last season when playing at home. To me, the obvious bets here probably look like a Newcastle win. Maybe the both teams to score over 2.5 since both teams see a lot of goals and Leicester's usually scores and concedes in every game. But for some reason, I just don't know if I fully trust Leicester on the road here. They did only get 1 goal 2 games back very late into the game to get on the score sheet. So I'm just going to go for over 1.5. Very simple, over 1.5 to kick this off. Next up, Wolves and Ipswich. It's a relegation battle here between 18th and 19th. Ipswich may be 18th, but they have just 1 win compared to the 2 that Wolves have, who are below them. Now, they've both been outscored by -13 and -15 margins so far. Ipswich haven't lost by more than 1 goal in 7 games, and they've only given up multiple goals once in 6. So even though they're not winning, they're not getting blown out. But in all competitions this season, they have also scored. They've been scored on in 15 of 16 games. The story is about the same for Wolves, who have lost 3 straight while being outscored 10-3. They also lost this week on Monday. Now, in those 38 goals allowed in the EPL that the Wolves have given up are easily the most. They've conceded multiple goals as well in 13 of 17 in all competitions and at least 1 goal in 15 of 17. Wolves usually can score, though. They have 23 goals for compared to the 14 that Ipswich have. And they've scored in 15 of 17. The both teams score over 2.5. It's been a moneymaker. It's hit in 11 of 13 recent games, and the over 2.5 alone has gone 12-1. So this game, you would think, is goals. Both these teams will see this game as an opportunity to get some points. It could be both teams to score. Both teams score over 2.5. Maybe a draw with both teams scoring. Or for the sake of this parlay, just Wolves to get on the score sheet. Ipswich basically never keeps a clean sheet. Sevilla and Celta Vigo over in La Liga to round out this 3-gamer on Saturday. 2 mid-pack teams meet here with 13th Sevilla hosting 10th Celta Vigo. Celta's games have been more wide open, 3.3 goals per game on average, and they are 11-5 to over 2.5, while Sevilla's average 2.5, and they're 10-6 to the under 2.5. Celta won 7-0 in the Copa del Rey and 2-0 in recent games. And they have just 1 loss in 7 games now. They're now on a streak of scoring in 7 straight, and they have scored in 16 of 18 games across all competitions, but they have given up a goal in 14 of 18 as well. Sevilla have scored 3 goals now in back-to-back games, a 3-1 win in the Copa del Rey, and then a 4-3 loss last game to Atletico Madrid, which saw them cough up a 3-1 second-half lead and go on to lose in stoppage time. Last season, these teams drew 1-1, and Celta won 2-1. That makes the both teams to score perfect 5-0 in recent meetings, and also 9-1 in the last 10 meetings. There's also been at least 2 goals in 19 of the past 21 meetings as well. This also looks like it could be very easily a both teams to score. I'm just going to go over 1.5. I'll do Sevilla, Celta Vigo over 1.5. Wolves to score. Newcastle, Leicester over 1.5. Coming in at -129 odds. But I think any one or all 3 of those games have good potential for the both teams to score if you wanted to make those odds even better. Let's go into Sunday now. Two or three games here in. We're going to start off in the EPL. Man City, Man U in the last Manchester Derby in August. They met in the Community Shield, which ended 1-1 with City winning in PKs. Last season, Man City won 3-1 and 2-1 in the EPL. Man U won 2-1 in the FA Cup. The both teams to score has now hit in 7 of the last 8 between them. The both teams to score in over 2.5 has hit in 6 of 8. There's also been 3 or more goals in 7 of 8 meetings between them as well. And I would expect that trend to continue here again on Sunday with more goals being scored. The Man City struggles continued this week as they went into Italy and lost 2-0 to Juventus in the Champions League, meaning it's just 1 win in 10 now for Pep's boys. In that time, the 1-3-0 win over Forest is the only time they've won, but it's also the only time they kept a clean sheet, and even more incredibly, the only time they've not allowed 2 or more goals in those last 10 games. Man U, a little bit less rest. They played in the Europa League Thursday versus Victoria Pleasant, so they'll have a little bit less rest, and they will be on the road here. They did win their game Thursday, though, 2-1 with a brace from Rasmus Højlund. Man U, not in terrible overall form. They had lost 2-0 and 3-2 before that Pleasant win, but overall are 6-2-2 in their last 10, and they only have 4 losses in 20 and have scored now in 12 of 13. So for me, I don't trust either of these defenses. I could see this being a shootout in this rivalry. Let's go both teams to score over 2.5. And then we'll go to Chelsea and Brentford in the EPL as well. Later on in the day, high-flying Chelsea is second. They'll host 9th place Brentford on Sunday. These are two of the 3 teams whose games average the highest goals per game. Brentford second, 3.9. Chelsea third, 3.5. The Bees are 12-3 to over 2.5. The Blues 9-6. Brentford are tied with Leicester for the most both teams to score games this season at 87%. Chelsea's have hit the prop 73% of the time. Now, Chelsea played Astana in the Conference League Thursday. They won 3-1. They're now undefeated in 9 in all competitions. They've also won 6 straight games now, scoring multiple goals in all 6 of those games for a total of 19 goals in those 6. And they have also not scored only twice all season long. Brentford won last weekend 4-2 over Newcastle, and while their home games are typically higher scoring than their away games, all Brentford games usually see goals in any competition. The both teams to score is 14-1 of late. The both teams to score in over 2.5 is 12-3, and they've scored in 16 of 18 games this season. Brentford has managed to score 2 goals versus Chelsea in each of the past 3 meetings as well, and in 3 of the last 4. The last 3 have been 2-0 and 2-0 wins for the Bees, most recently a 2-2 draw. Both teams also have 2 players inside of the top 7 for the scoring race, with Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson having 11 goals and 8 goals for the Blues, and each of Brian Mbeumo and Jan Wissa having 9 for the Bees. For all the positive scoring trends, though, that I just talked about here that would certainly point towards a very high-scoring game and likely with goals from both teams, Brentford on the road just not quite the same as Brentford at home, as they have only 5 road goals in their 7 EPL games. So I'm just going to focus on Chelsea here and go Chelsea over 1.5 goals. And if we pair that with the both teams score over 2.5 with the 2 Manchester teams, we get plus 122 odds, which is probably good enough on its own. If you wanted to find something simple across all the top leagues here to include, perhaps go even later in the day and go to La Liga and look to Barcelona getting a hopefully likely easy win over Leganes. Slumping leaders Barcelona could be in a great spot to get back to winning ways when they host 17th Leganes. Barca had won only 2 of 6 overall games and drew Betis 2-2 last weekend. But in the Champions League this week, they went to Germany, won 3-2 over Dortmund. The game did see Rafinha leave injured early, but he's already been cleared to play again, so likely should be back. Leganes' overall form isn't awful. They're 4-4-4 in all competitions, but 2 of those wins came in the Copa del Rey, and their last game was a 3-0 loss at home to Sociedad. It's a team that usually struggles to score. They did manage to put up 3 against Leganes. They aren't terrible on the road with just 6 road losses in 17. They have a ton of draws in that time. But keep in mind, much of this does go back into last year's Segunda. This will be much different in La Liga. Both teams' score bets have been strong in recent games on the road for Leganes. It's gone 7-0. Both teams score and over 2.5 bets have gone 5-1 in Barcelona's games recently, and the over 2.5 has hit in each of their last 6. Barca themselves scored 2 or more goals in 21 of 24 La Liga games going back to last season. They've not played these teams since 2020, and they don't have many all-time meetings, but Barcelona is 8-0-1, and they've outscored Los Peperinos 26-7. So if you wanted to improve this bet, you could throw Barcelona just simply to win, or maybe Barcelona to score 2, or to win and score 2, or if you really wanted to really bump it up, maybe Barca to win and Leganes to score. Parlay number 3 here, we will sprinkle a bet across all 3 different leagues here, Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A. Starting off with Heidenheim and Stuttgart. 16th Heidenheim will host 8th Stuttgart. Both played midweek, Stuttgart on Wednesday in the Champions League, where they routed Young Boys 5-1. They've now won 3 straight, and they are 4-1-1 in 6 in all competitions, scoring 16 goals in those 6 games. In 23 games across all competitions, Stuttgart has scored 21 times. And Heidenheim, Thursday, also played midweek in the Conference League versus Istanbul and Başakşehir, where they lost 3-1 in Turkey. That extends their losing streak now to 6 straight games, while being outscored 21-6. Goal totals in those losses in those games have been 4, 7, 2, 4, 6, and 4. So just tons of goals in Heidenheim's games recently. They also only have 1 win in 10 and just 2 in 13, so they've definitely been slumping this season. Both teams are seeing well over 3 goals per game in their matches. Stuttgart games averaging 3.8, Heidenheim's 3.5. They're 10-3 and 8-5 to over 2.5 respectively, and 12-1 Stuttgart, and 10-3 Heidenheim to simply over 1.5. Last season when they met, Heidenheim won 2-0 at home, and they drew 3-3 in Stuttgart. That extra day of rest and the slumping form of Heidenheim should point to a Stuttgart win, or maybe both teams to score, or for this parlay, simply over 1.5. Into La Liga for Villarreal and Real Betis. 5th Villarreal will host 11th Betis here. Villarreal, much more of an over team. Games averaging 3.5 goals per game, and they're 11-4 to over 2.5. Betis games much tighter, 2.4 goals per game. They're 10-6 to the under. Villarreal's last 2 games have been unders though. They failed to score, losing 1-0 and 2-0. Both games on the road. Now they'll be back at home here, where they've scored in all games this season. In fact, now home or away, they've scored in 14 of their 17 games. Betis had lost 3 in a row, but they now won 3-1 in the Copa del Rey, and then drew 2-2 and won 1-0 in La Liga, and then the Conference League over Petrocub. So it will be a short turnaround, having last played on Thursday, going on the road again to Villarreal. Last year, both won on the road, though. Betis 2-1, Villarreal 3-2, and prior to that, it was 1-1. So we have a lot of both teams to scores between these teams recently. It's also now 15 straight home games where Villarreal has scored, but they have just 1 clean sheet if we look at all the games this season. And only a 2-0 road loss to Sociedad is the only game that Betis haven't scored in any of their last 13. If we look at their 25 overall games, they've scored in 20 of them. To me, this looks like should be lots of goals. Probably both teams score over 2.5. At least 1 from each will go both teams to score, Villarreal and Betis. And finally into Serie A, it's Parma and Verona. These teams may only be 13th Parma, 18th Verona. That doesn't mean it can't be a good game to bet on those. Specifically, if you're like me and you like betting on goals in these games, Verona's games have seen the most goals per game, tied alongside Atalanta at 3.7. Parma's aren't far behind at 3.1. They're 12-3 and 10-5 to the over 2.5 respectively, and both are 13-2 to simply over 1.5. For Parma, if you've been betting the both teams to score and the over 2.5, or if you had a crystal ball and you've been betting a ton of 3-1 scores, you'd be cleaning up in recent weeks. Their last 4 games have been a 2-1 win, 3-1 loss, 3-1 win, and then a 3-1 loss last week to enter. In all Serie A games this season, they've scored in 13 of 15, but they've given up a goal in every single game, 15 of 15. Verona has lost 4 straight, 7 of 8, and their past 4 losses, they've been outscored 13-2. In their league games, they've only scored in 10 of 15, but they've conceded in 13 of 15 and also in 12 straight. So Parma, they're at home here. They are the better offensive team. I would certainly lean to a Parma win if we're looking for a winner. Both have conceded in nearly every game, though, 28 of 30 if you combine the two teams this season. So this could also be definitely a good bet on the both teams to score. Or to round out this parlay, I'm simply going to ask Parma to score. We can get some plus odds with Parma to score, both teams to score, Villarreal and Real Betis, and Heidenheim and Stuttgart over 1.5, coming in at plus 141 odds. So that will wrap it up in those 8 or 9 games that I've covered there. I'll be back for more games later this week. And if you found this helpful, give this video a like on your way out. And if you want to score a great bonus before making your bets, check out signupexpert.com/shredthespread. I've created all of these bets at Bet365, Caesars, DraftKings. All 3 have great offers for new customers. Be sure to check out the link in the comment section to see all those offers. And good luck with whatever you're betting this weekend.